Good morning. This is Andrew from My Investors Place. My Investors Place is a social network site that investors can come together, discuss current events, discuss all the economic issues, and read blogs and join our forums. What I'd like to discuss this morning is, probably as everyone knows, is about the implosion of Washington Mutual. And Washington Mutual really was one of the largest banks so far now to have failed, and it seems like the largest keeps on being repeated. It was, in one of my recent blog posts, I discussed one of the most largest foreclosures ever. Prior to this, Indy Bank was one of the largest bank failures, taking down about $11 or $12 billion. I don't recall the exact amounts, but basically what it all boils down to, the same ideas. We're talking greed and leverage over prudent lending. And it's a common denominator of this whole crisis, and one really has to ask themselves, where does it end? Can the government really bail out with the so-called $700 billion, which is starting to come apart at the seams right now? I'm watching the Globex futures, and it's early in the morning, and they're down about 2,100. The other question one can ask, very simply, is how many more times can Bank of America or J.P. Morgan basically come in and rescue, be the white in shining armor? I mean, there was a run on WAMU over the last 9 days or so, and it was almost like a death spiral where depositors took out about $16.5 or $16.7 billion. The rating agencies started cutting their ratings. It was just like just an implosion. And it's just, the simple question is, how many more other banks are on the landscape? How many more dominoes are going to fall? It's very interesting times. The good news, however, for depositors that didn't pull their money out is the banks are going to open today, and they're going to have full access to their accounts. The question again, and I'm always full of questions, is how many more times can this happen until the FDIC doesn't have enough money or the Fed doesn't have enough money? The interesting thing is that WAMU, or Washington Mutual, was one of the largest lenders hit by this the housing crisis, and they were really one of the most aggressive. They did option arms, and they really traded growth over prudence. And it just brings me back to this question of thought. All these acquisitions that Bank of America is doing, all the acquisitions that J.P. Morgan is doing, and the markets are applauding it. It's almost like history repeating itself, or at least I want to say I hope history not repeating itself, because if one looks at the history of Washington Mutual, just going back from 1995, they went on a shopping spree where they made over 14 acquisitions by 2002. I mean, that's mind-boggling numbers of acquisitions. And the question is, how can they digest it? How can they integrate all the different companies? And also, Washington Mutual was a favorite of Wall Street, where from 1990 to about 2006, it jumped about 20 times. So, time will tell what will happen, and that's why I have My Investors Place. It's a forum where you can discuss ideas, learn. We have all kinds of blogs. We included 10 new writers. We have one gentleman he's a CFA, which is a certified financial analyst, which you can also learn a lot. I mean, that's the whole point of My Investors Place, is to learn, to discuss. So I encourage you to join us. I encourage you to watch more of these videos. And with all this bad news that's on the horizon, ultimately, for the prudent investor, there's going to be tremendous opportunities. And all we really need to do is stay out of trouble and make ourselves present. And when I mean stay out of trouble, stay liquid, reduce your consumption, obviously reduce your debt. And this situation really might be one of the most opportune times in your life. This is Andrew Abraham from My Investors Place. I encourage you to join us and join our blogs, post your blogs, get some exposure. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Great weekend, too.